Heather Soderquist. I've been with Poets&Quants for 7 years. I love this opportunity to talk to you guys today, and I want to thank you very much for being here. I think one of the, this is our second panel of the day, and we just heard from admissions directors. We've got a couple of more panels after this, current students, but as a former school administrator, I've got to say, I know that the people that parents and future students want to hear from the most are alumni. You guys can talk about the school directly, honestly, and really sort of, sell it the best, because of your personal experience and what you bring. And as with all of our other panelists that we have, you guys are super impressive. I was checking out your LinkedIn bios yesterday, but I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves, starting with Ananya, who you graduated from Gies in 2020?
That's right. Yeah, May 2020.
Tell us about what you're doing now.
Yeah. So right now I'm working in Chicago. I actually just finished my first year of working at Deloitte in their cyber and strategic risk practice and decided to jump ship. So as of yesterday, I now work at EY Parthenon in their strategy and transactions practice. And so, just getting acquainted with them there, but excited for what lies ahead.
Fantastic. And Manav, you're joining in from New York, and you are in private equity?
Yep, that's right. Hi everyone. I graduated in 2019 from Lime University in Ohio from the Farmer School of Business, and began my career with 2 years at Morgan Stanley in the investment banking division, working on M&A transactions, and then recently made the switch to private equity, where I'm primarily investing in healthcare.
That's incredible. Vale, you are also a more recent grad, 2020 from IU Kelley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I went to Indiana University, Kelley School of Business, graduated in May 2020, and I currently work at Bain as an associate consultant.
And Justin, I saw on your LinkedIn that you are or were working at TikTok, but you're now about to start, or you just started at Harvard Business School.
So I just started at Harvard Business School. It looks like I'm the oldest in this crowd. So graduated back in 2016 from Boston University Questrom School of Business. After that, I do 3 years of consulting and then 2 years working at TikTok in the business development team. And then I just started my MBA at Harvard Business School a month ago.
Well, I have to say congratulations from Poets&Quants on getting the yes from Harvard. So good job. Well, okay, so you're just a few years out of school, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. And, putting yourself back into, the high school, you're sitting in high school and you're wondering, did you know at that point that you wanted to major in business? I mean, were you one of those kids that just kind of knew all along? Or was it more of a path that you discovered once you hit campus? I'm just going to start with you again, Ananya.
Yeah, sure, Heather. So, I applied directly to Gies and other business schools at large public universities. So I would say I knew towards the end of high school, and I think it was largely brought about by the fact that I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and business kind of seemed like a catch-all, intersection of tech and econ, being able to communicate. So there's like a lot of different sort of fields. And that's why I decided to, apply to business schools and, yeah.
Did you apply to more than one school?
Yes. I applied to about, 9 or 10 universities, predominantly in the Midwest. So I guess a lot of the schools that, are represented here. And I didn't know specifically what I wanted to do, within business. I ended up studying accounting and information systems. But I thought that, business would have a lot of job prospects at the very least if I, didn't figure out what I wanted to do by the end of the 4 years of college.
Yeah, that's true. And we talk about that a lot. Actually, I think it's something around 20% of all majors in college are business majors. And I know we all, and parents particularly, but everybody really, you want to see a return on your investment of time and money and your education. So, what about you, Manav? What was high school like? Did you know that you were on a business path?
To be completely honest with you, no. I think I was a little bit feeling the pressure senior year, trying to decide what I wanted to do. And kind of similar to Ananya, I was looking at, going in, what's going to give me the most options if I change my mind. And I think business is one of those majors that you can pair very easily with any other field and get benefit out of. So going into college, I originally figured, I'll give this a shot and, maybe I'll stick with it and add something else, or maybe this will be what I go with the whole way through. It's
interesting because, I know there are students who are in high school and they know they're going to business school. They're young entrepreneurs. They know where they're headed. But for a lot of people like you, I feel like it is this catch-all, and you don't realize, you think it's going to be finance and, econ classes, but really there's leadership and there's communication and marketing and all of these other things that you can bring anywhere, which makes it such a popular major, I think. Vale, how about you? Were you one of the young entrepreneurs that knew you were going to business school?
I had a pretty strong idea since freshman year of high school that I wanted to do business. I was taking business and psychology. And then when colleges would come recruit at my high school, they would talk about like the business school. And like, that's the only thing that would like get me excited about like the majors, the classes you take. Like a big thing at my school is like business communications, which like I really enjoyed. And like, I was like, I want to like take those classes because it just like, I feel like it also just makes you like a more confident like business person too. So all those like factors like helped me decide that I wanted to do business, and also the kind of like the no regrets factor of it. Like I haven't really met people that like ever regretted getting a business degree. They're like, it's so useful, it's so valuable, you can do so many things with it. And I also wanted to be an accountant since I was like pretty young, so I kind of knew business was for me.
Well, that's fantastic. And Justin, how about you?
Yeah, well, now I'm thinking back my journey. I'm getting business school 2 times. One from undergrad and now getting an MBA. I think for me, it's really 2 reasons. One is, my family is from China, and then so like so coming from a family business background, I think the entrepreneurship and starting business is always kind of in the back of my mind. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I went to high school in Hawaii, and then I came from a like all-girl Catholic high school, which is very different. And then for college, I was looking for something that's very large, somewhere like Boston University, where I'm in an urban setting and would have, diverse student population, international student population, etc. So like, I had a pretty clear idea that I want to come to the East Coast. I want to study business, and I really enjoy Boston as a city, and I loved BU when I visited campus back then. So it came down to a easier decision for me back then for undergrad.
Well, that's great. And thank you for that, because that leads into my next question, which is, how far did you go for school and what were you looking for? You were looking to be in an urban environment, bigger campus, real world experience.
Right.
And so you definitely got that. Then, but when you were looking for the others, when you were looking for school, did you want to go far from home, stay close to home? And what were the factors that led you to this?
Yeah. So I intended to, move away from Hawaii, right? Because like most of my friends, we all stay on the island. It is very far, Hawaii to Boston. We're looking at 13-hour direct flight. It almost feels like you're going to a different country. I mean, the vibe is totally different altogether. So I wanted to come to the East Coast, and I was very clear on that. And then, so when I was doing the college tour, Boston as a city really speaks to me because it is a fantastic college town. And then, like I mentioned, I wanted to study business. I wanted to meet a very diverse student population. And then, so Boston University was a natural fit in terms of what I was looking for.
That's great. What about you, Vale?
Yeah, so I knew I kind of wanted to go out of state for college. And for me, what like I love the most about IU is that it was really big. So my high school, my graduating class was 52 people. So I knew that I wanted to meet more people. And I want to go somewhere that like was big, but can also like I can make it feel small. So like that's what I got within the business school. So I use like a state school, like a lot of people go there, but then the business school makes it smaller. And then the clubs that you start joining makes it even smaller. I also really enjoyed like the Big Ten, like feeling of it, just going to football games, basketball games, all those things that I didn't really get in high school, I was able to get in college.
Oh, fun. Yeah. What a great campus for that. What a great school to go to for that. Manav, for you, did your high school was private school, public school? What kind of were any of the factors that you were in pushing you towards Miami? Well, Farmer.
Yeah.
Every time I say
Yeah,
Miami,
I think,
in Florida, but
absolutely. I get that a lot. Well, I mean, I guess the biggest factor, I had 5 cousins go there before me, so maybe in some ways I didn't really have a choice. I had to look pretty hard at Miami, but jokes aside, I think for me, I went to a pretty large public school out in Northern Virginia, and most of our graduating class kind of stuck in this bubble of schools, and everybody kind of went to the same school. I think for me, I wanted to break out of that a little bit. And going to a larger high school, I think I wanted to stay in a larger school that maybe something a little bit smaller where it's, you do get to meet most of the people. And I think Miami's perfect for that. I think we're close to 20,000 students now. And it's funny. I run into people all the time and they say, oh, I know this one person that went to Miami. And I'm like, honestly, just give me the name because there's a real chance I'd probably cross paths with them at some point. I'm sure maybe at Illinois, it kind of feels the same way. But there's a lot of great schools, and I think that you have to really feel out the campus. And my little brother goes to Indiana. I have a lot of friends that went to Illinois. I chose Miami because I love the red brick campus. I saw myself there. I really liked what the college offered as a college town. And I think another big decision that I made was I kind of figured most of my life was going to be spent in cities, so I wanted to get that college town feel, which is a different vibe. And so I wanted to make sure I chose a college town over some of the other great schools that are out there.
Yes, you guys are all so outgoing and so thoughtful. I mean, I'm getting strong MBA vibes from everybody here.
Maybe this is just hindsight, though.
What's that?
Maybe it's a lot of hindsight that you're getting from us.
Yeah, right. So, Ananya, what about for you? Why did you choose Gies?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I would, echo everything that Jesh and Vale and Manav said. I was born and raised in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. So Jashan said 13 hours from Hawaii to Boston. It's, 14 and a half for me. So, very giving her stiff competition there. But I knew I would come to the US for college. I think it was just a question of sort of, if it would be a big city or a college town. Being born and raised in a big city, I was really gravitating towards getting that college town feel. And then, like Vale said, U of I is a very large university, but Gies is, a small school. Each class is about, 700 to 800 people. And so it really is so easy to get to know everyone. And it just felt like, the one word that Gies really uses is family, and like they truly mean it and embody it in every way. And so it was nice to be in a big campus, but like to temper that, be in a small school. My graduating class was 48 students in high school. So it was sort of an easier transition to, while it was a big campus, coming into a smaller school. And then I had, cousins and siblings go to schools in the Midwest. So I knew this was a nice area. I also had you hear when you don't grow up here that like people on the coasts can be a little mean. And I know that's not really true, but New Yorkers, like you see them even in movies and stuff, but people in the Midwest are so sweet and so nice. And so to be able to get that was definitely something that drove me to choose Gies.
Well, and you didn't have I'm guessing that you didn't have the opportunity to visit all of these 11 campuses that you applied to.
No. Actually, Illinois was the only school I'd gone to because my brother went to U of I. And I had a cousin go to UW-Madison, so I'd seen it like on FaceTime. But so you're absolutely right, Heather.
Okay, but you did get to go there before, which is nice. So
yeah.
Day in the life of, if we can start with you, what was, I don't know, pick a year, but it's a typical day. You're a student at Gies. What's a day like as a business major?
Absolutely. So it differentiates your first couple years versus your last couple years, just because exclusively in your third and fourth year, you're in small classes. So you're in discussion-based classes with professors, maybe between 30 and 45 people. But in your first years, you are taking those core classes, gen ed classes. So you're in large lectures. So, just to kind of speak to those who'd be coming in closer to the first and second year experience, You'd have a couple lectures in the morning. You might take the afternoon to, whether that's complete homework or if you've joined clubs, so attend some club meetings, team projects, stuff like that, work on that. And then a lot of the early evening was going to the discussion sessions for the large lectures you had. In the evening, almost all the time, Gies would have some sort of programming. So Gies is really big on celebrating, different identities. So whether it's, celebrating Black History Month, so something's happening every evening for Black History Month, or I'm Indian originally, so around October, November, if Diwali, which is one of our large festivals, is coming up, they'll do something for that. So in the evening, you could be at our college building, the Business Instructional Facility, which we call the BIF, and you get free food, or you're learning about something. And then, I think, being a campus town, at the end of the day, you sort of, wind up getting dinner with your friends or boba or coffee, and then, return back to your dorm. So it's not like a very set schedule. You really do choose your own path, but I would say you are looking at spending a lot of time with other people and not just, lecture to lecture, just because of the philosophy of Gies, which really harps on teaming and collaboration. So
some lectures, some discussions, some team-based work, hands-on stuff, and
100%,
community, diversity, inclusive events at night.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Sounds fun. And so, Valley, I think that if I remember what I know about Kelley is that there's, they do a lot of sort of diversity or celebration community, like club kind of activities for students as well. So rather than a day in the life, I like this. Can you give us a snapshot of what it's like to be a student at IU Kelley? What you might experience?
Yeah. So at Kelley, we have this office called the Kelley Office of Diversity Initiatives. And to speak to the diversity initiatives, and like that's just like that was my home. Like every time I'd like get stressed out, I just like walk into the office and like I would be like Carmen or like maybe one of the people that like work there, like, oh my gosh, like Vale, like what's up? And they always have time for me to like sit down, just like talk to them about like what I was going through. So like that support that you want on an everyday basis, like that's what I got there. I'm a first gen student, so like going to college for me, I was like freaking out. Basically, I was like, where are my parents? Like, I don't know if I can do this. But like they really provided the support to like ensure that like I knew I had somewhere to go to. They also have a lot of like diversity events, which anyone is like welcome to attend. At IU, we also have like La Casa, which is where I would go to pretty often. Every time I miss back home, I was like, I just want to listen to like some Spanish music. But yeah, normal day in the life was very similar to like what Ananya said. I was also very involved in a business fraternity. So like I'd usually hang out with them at night and we'd like study together, like do homework together. It'd be really nice.
That's great. That sounds really fun. So, so I'm going to hear from Manav and Jushin as well. But it's funny, we've got these high school students, they're going in this, and there's this argument for, do you go, do you take a gap year? Do you do 2 years at a junior college? And you're right now, I feel like making the argument, just go all in first year, 4 years, spend the 4 years, because there's so many other things that you're going to learn, and, you build this family along the way. And as you're talking, because I didn't do that. So now I'm taking myself back, wishing that I would have done things a little differently when I had the opportunity. But Manav, what is it like at Miami University in Ohio?
Yeah, I think the Farmer School it's a smaller school, just the nature of Miami not being one of the biggest schools in the country. And I think that you're very close with your student body. As part of the student, as a student there, one really crucial element of your experience is student-run organizations. And I think those are introduced to you pretty early on. So whether you have an interest in corporate banking, investment banking, consulting, business fraternities, et cetera, the organizations are very, very well run with, mentorship from the faculty and closely monitored to make sure that, students are getting everything they can out of them. So I would say a big part of your day is revolving around those, whether it's, mostly in the evenings or in the weekdays, but, sometimes there's case competitions, et cetera, that arise on the weekend. But I think your typical day is starting off with classes, whether they're at 8:30 or if you're lucky, you get to push them out to start at 10. And then usually, you have a few classes a day and you have some gaps in between. And Farmer has this great food area right next to it where all the students go and get these famous salads that are famous on campus if you're into salads. But what you see throughout the day while you're at the business school is students sitting around and collaborating. And I think that's just developing from evenings and organizations spending a lot of time together. And at the same time, you're probably going to visit your faculty at least once or twice a week. I think that's another big portion. I think Farmer ranks almost every year in the top 5 of faculty and the best faculty in the country. So you naturally have to take advantage of that and develop those relationships. So there's a lot of relationship building outside of class is what I would highlight.
Okay. Great. And Justin, what's it like at BU, day in the life on this big campus?
Yeah, I now I have to think back to like almost 10 years ago. That's when I first entered college. It makes me feel a little old, but anyways, so I think each year is very different, right? But I would say thinking about like kind of my 4 years at BU, like I think it's like there are so many things I want to do, and then you're like constantly balanced between like academics, social life, and also extracurriculars. And one more thing, sleep, and actually jobs, right? So they're like 5 things you're trying to juggle throughout your entire time for undergrad. But I feel like each year, the priority is a little different, right? So for example, I feel like my freshman year is really more about kind of like on the social aspect where you like meet different people from all over the world, and then like you join different clubs, like you're trying to like, get used to the college life. So there's like a lot of adjustment happening in the freshman year. But I feel like it's more social driven from my experience. And then like the sophomore year start to like get a little serious in terms of like, okay, great, like junior year, summer, I need to have an internship. Then you start to kind of like orient yourself doing different like extracurriculars, like gaining like leadership experiences from different student clubs. I think on top of that, I also had a campus job. I think I was a teaching assistant when I was a sophomore. And on top of that, at Boston University in Questrom, I was entering into this like core curriculum. Essentially, it's a very intense semester that you work in a team of 10 to build a business plan. And then essentially what happened is that so during the day, you start class at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you would take like marketing, operations, information system, finance, those classes in the morning. And then in the afternoon, you would like meet with your teammates to figure out in terms of like how we're going to do, like what are we going to do with this like business plan / product. So there's different milestones you have to like check through. Can you guys still hear me? Because my mic just dropped.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then, so that's that. And I feel like, so that's my sophomore year. And then junior year, I feel like I was almost like recruiting was like my primary focus. Because at that time, I really wanted to do investment banking. And then at that time, BU wasn't a target school. So I spent a lot of time like networking with alumni on the Wall Street, particularly alumni at those at bulge bracket investment banks. So I remember taking bus to New York almost every week just to meet with them and do those coffee chats. So that was quite intense. And then, so I did my internship at Goldman Sachs in Beijing actually that summer, realized banking is not my thing. So then I'm just like, okay, let me take a break. So I actually studied abroad in my senior year. And then when I came back, I interviewed with a consulting firm, got the offer. And then last semester was pretty much just like, enjoy the last semester with my friends. So I would say overall a very, like enriching 4 years with different priorities throughout. It was a great time.
That sounds intense.
It was
sounds intense. Like a lot. Now, let me ask you, because you came from Hawaii, it was a small school, and then, so you went to BU, and in your sophomore year, you did this core, business plan project. I mean, I could see if I was 16 or 17, I was watching this, I might feel super intimidated by that. By the time you've spent your first year at school, were you feeling kind of ready? Like, did the school, sort of help you along the process, giving you the skills, the things that you needed along the way? So by the time you hit that sophomore year and you're doing this project, or you guys, you're working on some, a case that you're going to present to a company, were you ready? Did you feel ready at the time that these things landed in your lap?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. So I think first semester, I actually did spend a lot of time adjusting, because I think about kind of like coming from Hawaii, like it almost feel like I was a big fish in a small pond. But here at Boston University, like, I mean, our school is huge. Like, I think like class of 2016 alone was like maybe 4,000 people. And then like in business school, maybe there are like 800 of us. And then like people are from all over the world and all over the country. So I was definitely intimidated in my first semester. And then like in a business school, it's like you see in those like oval shaped classrooms, and like participation is like very important. And whenever a professor poses a question, everybody just like raise their hand. And then everybody sounds so smart. So I was definitely intimidated in the beginning. But I think the curriculum here at BU is very like teamwork driven. And then even in our first semester, we have like team projects where, you work in the teams. And then at the end of the semester, you will go onto the stage and you deliver that presentation, right? So like they train us since our first semester at BU, at Questrom. So I really benefited from that. I mean, sure. I mean, that entire sophomore year working on that core project of that startup idea, it was difficult. I think the difficult part is not from the idea itself or classes, but dealing with people, right? So it's a team of 10, that's a lot of us. And everybody's different. That's why it makes things interesting, but also sometimes challenging, right? So like, how do I navigate difficult conversations? How to navigate through conflicts? I think those are the biggest takeaways that I have at the end of my college time.
Interesting. That's great. Well, you're skipping ahead on me for a couple of questions. I'm going to come back to that one because I want to hear big takeaways too. But since we're, sort of transitioning people through, thinking about school, selecting a school, checking out campus if you really can, if you can get there to check it out. Otherwise, with virtual tours and everyone's doing things, as much as we can online these days anyway. But once you're there, so you're in school, at what point do you start working with career services, or does the school start helping you build your sort of next step plan? Because you all have great jobs, and your schools all do really well placing students and helping students get meaningful work that makes you happy. We lost somebody. We lost Manav after the fact. So Vale, what for you, when does Kelley sort of jump in with professional development and career services? And were they pretty hands-on with helping with internships? What was that experience like?
Yeah. What I love about Kelley is that like from day one, you're encouraged to go to the career center. So we actually have this class called Compass. There's like 3 parts to Compass. You take one every year up until your junior year. And like your first year is all about like getting to know yourself. So like building your resume, your like elevator pitch, like all those things that you would want to know going into an interview. So like beginning of freshman year, I was already ready to like start interviewing with like for freshman year conferences and all those other opportunities they offer for freshmen. You're also really encouraged to go into the career center like whenever you're comfortable, whenever you want to as a freshman. They require you to have a mock interview your second year. So like your second year, everyone has to go to the career center at least once. So they kind of make it a requirement, and it's a graded mock interview too. So like you have to like be prepared for it, treat it like a real interview, because like that's what you're being graded on. So I think they really help you like get exposure to the career services like little by little. I personally went freshman year, I went a good amount of time just because I was like, this is so cool. It's like a resource available to everyone. Like I want to take advantage of it. And I did a couple mock interviews when I was interviewing for freshman year conferences. I know that there was like a couple Big Four conferences, and like for me, Big Four was like my dream as an accounting major. So I definitely took advantage of it when preparing for those.
That's great. And then you did your internship. You told us at the beginning or before the call, but where did you do your internship?
I did my sophomore year internship at EY and then my junior year internship at Bain.
Okay. Ananya, how about for you? How was Gies like?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know like, statistics are only show you one part of it, but I think when I was at Gies, we had like #1 return on investment for like a public business school, and then 99% placement, 99% placement rate after graduation. And the reason that is, those very radical numbers exist is because I think week 1, week 2 on campus, you are kind of catapulted into this like world of like finding a job. And it's through our course, Business 101, and we have it all through the 4 years of college, 101, 201, 301, 401. And as a requirement for that class, for credit, you have to attend the career fair. And in preparation for that, you have to meet with someone from the career center, or back when I was at Gies, I don't know if they still do this. They actually had professionals from different companies. And so I remember I had my resume reviewed with someone who worked at BP, and they'd taken the whole day to come down from Chicago to review, freshman year resumes. And so they do that leading up to career fair. They, have this almost fashion show in B101 where they show you what is smart casual, what is business casual, what is business professional, what should your elevator pitch be? So it's like required. And I think that building in that rigor of, yes, freshman year, a lot of companies will not have a job for you, but you need to still attend. You need to still start those conversations, network, get their business cards, send a thank you email, go through all those motions so you get comfortable in a sort of a low stakes year, like your freshman year, so that come sophomore, junior year, you have an internship and you have some sort of real world experience at a company. And so that was something that, happens right from the beginning. And that's through the college, but then that kind of seeps into like all of the college organizations. So I was in a business consulting organization. I was in, a sort of a business fraternity type organization and multiple others. And they all had sort of this idea of corporate sponsors or corporate partners where companies would directly partner. So they would actually invest and pay sort of a fee to be a partner or a sponsor of that club and come down for specific recruiting events for those organizations, bring down alum that were in these organizations, et cetera. And so that is true for most student organizations at Gies. And so, because of this, and I always said, like, sophomore year, try something that, that you might not feel like you want to do long term, just to try something different. And then if you have a hunch about something that you really, really want to do, junior year, get that, retain that full-time offer. I spent my sophomore year interning at Motorola. Not like the security systems and radios, the actual phone, the flip phone, the Razor company. And then my junior year, I interned with Deloitte, where I ended up going full time. And so I attribute sort of the ability to have that to the rigor that's placed on your career and your first destination at Gies.
That's nice. So it sounds like there's good, strong partnerships with the community, that it's, built into the curriculum.
Yeah.
And then you also have access to career services and one-on-one support.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. And how about at Miami University, Manav? What was it like? How did they help along your professional development path?
Yeah, I think a lot of things in similarity with at Gies. I think our student-run organizations are equally as important as our on-campus recruiting department. Both are very helpful. I think the on-campus recruiting department does a great job of getting people comfortable and getting those reps in early on your freshman year. But then a lot of our really competitive, jobs or employers, they do count on our student-run organizations to prepare students. So for me, going into investment banking, the investment banking club was very important. For others going to consulting, there's some business fraternities that had their own consulting clubs. There was other clubs. Corporate banking, there was their own. And the real benefit you get out of that is you become very close with juniors and seniors early on that are guiding you into how to get to where they are if you realize that's what you want to do. And I attribute a lot of where I ended up at through those 4 years to the older students that spent a ton of time mentoring, the faculty that run these student organizations, and then also the career department to get people ready early on.
Well, that's interesting, because I was going to ask you how you ended up in banking after not really even wanting to maybe go into business as a high school student. And I mean, that's something that you really have to want to do. I mean, I've seen it's Josh and you had an internship and said, nope, this isn't for me. It's either for you or it's not for you.
Yeah.
So, and it sounds like it was working with the juniors, seniors, the mentorship, kind of introducing you. So how do you like it? Are you happy with that path?
I think it ended up the way I wanted it to, which I would say is very lucky. I think like having those older mentors that had gone to places, like where Justin was at Goldman Sachs or in the JP Morgan, William Blair in Chicago, a lot of different investment banks gave you that insight into what you were getting into before you got into it. And at the same time, they prepped you really well to succeed in those roles. So my sophomore year, I interned at Houlihan Lokey in New York, an investment bank in the middle market, and that was through an alumni connection. And then my Morgan Stanley offer was kind of building on that as a junior internship, and then going back full time to New York. I really liked it. I'm in private equity now, but I wouldn't be in private equity without those 2 years of experience. And so I think I definitely made the most of those years, and definitely very happy with my choice.
Really fantastic experience at such a young age, really. So, okay, let's see here. We've got, how much time do we have? We have 10 minutes or so. And I'm going to add one question, because our audience today is, it's probably at this point, it's made up of probably 50-50 students and parents, and there's, a good 10%. So we're going to have 110% audience today. You guys can all do math. But of, counselors, admissions counselors from high schools and things like that. So I've got 3 more questions. But first, so we've talked a lot about, the school campus and your careers and how you got there. But what about other things that you learned along the way, which you kind of talked about in the beginning, but like maybe some highlights, the things that you were unexpectedly given as a result of going to, your major in business that you weren't expecting. Vale, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'll say like you learn a lot of soft skills. So like they really own in on like the hard skills when like trying to recruit. They're like, okay, you get all these like new skills, like sales skills, everything. But for me, like I became a very like confident like businesswoman. Like they're like, you have to believe in yourself. Like you got this. Like don't doubt your abilities. All those things. I'm just like, I don't know, like now when I present or like I'm like speaking to my supervisor, I'm like, I speak in such an organized way. And I'm like, I believe I'm right because of this, this, and this. And like, it's like, it actually like works, like all the soft skills that like you are given, like while also learning like all like the hard skills, like it's like actually insane because like you don't like study it, it just like naturally happens, which I think is beautiful. Also, one thing that I wasn't expecting about business school and I'm super thankful about is learning Excel. So we have like a lot of dedicated Excel classes that are part of our core classes at Kelley. And that does wonders in consulting and also in my friends that are doing banking right now. So I definitely learned a lot. But I'm very thankful for like the soft skills that like aren't really marketed as much because I think they're equally as valuable.
Learning how to communicate effectively, very important. Ananya, what about for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would 100% echo what Vale said. But something specifically that I experienced, coming from a sort of very homogeneous environment growing up in the Middle East, just sort of the value that Gies places on sort of diversity of thought, diversity of identity, and just, our motto is business on purpose. And so, being driven by something that's greater than, of course, they want you to get your job. They want you to have a successful career, get the grades you wanted in college, awards, scholarships, etc. But it's like, what impact are you going to make on the people around you? Whether that's, paying it forward and being, a good upperclassman or alum when you leave, or, something greater. How are you going to give back to the community? And I know we've spoken about community on this call, but that's something I wasn't expecting, or that's something that I guess is a great, I don't think really anyone is expecting to get out of college, but that has made me a better rounded person today. Having faculty and administrators and other students place such an importance on being purpose driven and thinking about sort of the greater impact of what you do.
That's great. Justin, what about for you? What are your soft skill takeaways, big highlights?
Yeah, totally agree with, Valeria on kind of like soft skills, also my biggest takeaway. And if I really think about those, I think the most important thing for me was about building relationships with a diverse set of people, right? And I think, I mean, so like I said, graduated a while ago. I worked for 5 years. I'm now entering business school again. I mean, one of the primary reasons for me to enter Harvard Business School is actually to build a network. And then I feel like in business, like relationship is everything. And then, as we continue to do business globally, when I was working at TikTok, globalization is kind of our core like strategic objectives. And learning how to like connect with different people from different parts of the world, different cultures, different identity. I really think that's a core skills for someone to be like, effective in a team and eventually be successful. So I think I learned a lot about that at BU because we are such a diverse university and so big and so international. So I really benefited a lot from there.
That's great. Manav?
Yeah, I think kind of echoing on that, actually, that you guys kind of stole my points. But I think the biggest thing that I got out of it, and that a lot of people get out of business, which they might not have going into it, is just an appreciation of how global the world really is today. And through your curriculum, whether you're studying economics or whether you're studying finance, whether you're studying marketing, you'll realize that every decision in different parts of the world has an impact on other parts of the world, right? So like just yesterday, we were looking at a mini market shock because a firm is about to default in debt on the other side of the planet. And that's what the global economy has become. And it is very important to understand that. And I think that the business curriculum at all of our schools, I'm sure, does a great job of giving you cases and giving you situations and giving you scenarios and also exposing you to people from around the world through maybe an international student body that you have at your school or just people from different parts that have come to for Miami, for example. But that appreciation for the global economy is a very important aspect to beginning your career in business.
Sounds great. Well, you guys, you've been fantastic, and I'm getting my little 2-minute warning, so I'm going to go fast, starting with Manav. I'm sorry, you've been at the tail end of some of these questions, Manav. So quickly, as quick as you can you please give us 2 pieces of advice? One, for the students that are watching. Your biggest, the best advice you can give the students that are watching right now that are sitting there not sure what to do, 16, 17, 18 years old, thinking about school. And then 2, what would you tell their parents?
Yeah, so I think for the students, the one thing I've told a lot of my younger cousins and siblings, study abroad if you get the opportunity. I think that was my favorite experience in college and not something I had planned going in. But if I look back now, that period was probably the best period of my 4 years. For the parents, I think really emphasize the campus fit. I think it's really important. I think for Miami, I really like the campus. I really like the liberal arts part of mixing that with business and getting a diverse experience. My minor was Italian, which is totally random. But like look at the curriculum, look at the campus, and make an effort to maybe even, force the student to actually look at different schools, because I know I didn't. And I think that's one thing I wish I had done more of, maybe is look at more places, but definitely, push to explore and do campus visits to multiple places, even if there is a clear top one.
Thank you. It's great advice. And Justin, for you, what's your best advice for students and best advice for parents?
Yeah. So I think for students, my biggest advice is to walk off your comfort zone. And as much as you can, because I really think that's when growth really happens. That's one. And I think for parents is really to support that. I myself have a younger brother. I'm basically his guardian here in the States. And, oftentimes I myself have certain ideology in terms of what the lifestyle should be like, what the goals should be like, but he's not me and I'm not him, right? So I think what I'm constantly reminding myself is that everybody is different, and then we should respect their own right to find a path that works for them. So that would be my advice for the parents.
Love this advice. This is good. Thank you. Thank you. Ananya, what about from you?
Absolutely. I loved the pieces of advice Manav and Justin gave. I wish someone would have given those to me when I was going to college. But just to kind of stack onto that, for students, I would say, focus on relationships. Business is the world of people. You're not going to remember, grades are important. Trust me when I say grades are important, but you're not going to remember what you got in one quiz, but you're going to remember celebrating your friend's 21st birthday, you're going to remember, a coffee chat that you have with an alum. You don't need to be in the library all the time. Like it's okay to let those things go and sometimes and focus on the relationships you build with people, because when you're like me or like Justin, almost 10 years out of college, you're going to really remember the people and not what you got, in calculus, business calculus. So I'll say that. And then for parents, encourage your children to just, I guess, be their most authentic self. I used to work for admissions, and a lot of parents wanted their, children to do accounting or finance or were asking about those majors. But, strategy and entrepreneurship, marketing, supply chain, these are all really, really cool fields that need people. And just because they don't have sort of the fancy accounting and finance titles doesn't mean that those aren't great professions to go down. So let them be their authentic selves and do what they're really passionate about.
Okay, I'm taking in all this advice, by the way. I want you to know. Okay, Vale, you're gonna close us out with your best piece of advice.
A lot of pressure here. For students, I definitely say be unapologetically yourself. I think when I started being unapologetic myself, that's when I started forming like those like natural friendships that I'm like friends with to this day. Like I live with like my best friend from college. Like I think college is the time to really be there for yourself too. Like know when you need support. Don't be afraid to like ask for help or go find help. It can definitely get overwhelming with all the exams and everything, but it was the best 4 years of my life. So definitely enjoy it as well. And also explore passions that you like want to explore. So I took Portuguese classes and then I minored in psychology. Like the world's your oyster when you're in college. So definitely enjoy that. And then for parents, I definitely push your children to apply to at least one school that is out of like their hometown or is out of state. I think going out of state for college was very beneficial to me, and it helped me like grow so much more than I know I would have if I would have stayed at home. So definitely keep your options open and hopefully apply to one, at least one that is out of home base where they can live in a dorm.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much again, and thank you everybody for watching. But I'm just again so impressed with you. I think you guys represent the school so well, and they must be very proud of you. And we're also lucky to have you, and so are we. So thank you very much, and please keep in touch with us at Poets and Quants, because I know more of you are going to go get your MBA. So, and Justin, congratulations on Harvard.
Thank you. Thank you. It was nice to meet you all. If you guys ever are interested in talking about business school, I'm here for you. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
See, networking already, still. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful night.
Bye.
Bye.